how to buy apartments. How to buy apartments in the next 90 days and do it with as little out of pocket capital as you can. So my promise really for you tonight, everyone here, is to do just that, to show you how you can buy an apartment building in the next 90 days, 10 to 30 unit deal, kind of keeping it more smaller sides where you're not going into the huge, large deals to start, but do it with this 20,000 bucks out of pocket. Has anybody ever heard the term syndication before? Syndication before? And here's the reason I bring that up. Because the way that this gets done, if you're going to do this game, real estate investing in general, I don't care if it's real estate investing on your own or real estate investing in partnerships, just in general, there's only two ways to do it. You do it all with your own money. That's option A. Or you do option B, which is your money in conjunction with other people's money. Now, most people get stuck and stop right here because they say to themselves, I'm either scared of raising money, I'm scared of having other people's money into deals, I'm scared of this, I'm scared of that. Nobody I know has any money. I mean, I hear it on and on and on. And it's all hogwash. Okay, it's complete hogwash. Because what you're not realizing is that everybody wants to invest in real estate. That's not your problem. The problem is you need to find a good deal that makes sense for people to invest alongside you with. And that's kind of the focus, right? Is how do you find good deals? How do you analyze them quickly to make sure it's a good deal? How do you then move to the next steps of writing offers correctly, financing and capital and structuring those deals correctly for you and other people? And then how do you close and manage that thing, especially if it's in state or out of state? How would you actually put that together? And how would you do that? But these are the two options you have to buy apartments. So let me ask you a question. Who here has at least $500,000 in cash sitting in their bank account right now? We have one person. Okay, one person out of the many on here. Okay, so beautiful. So what this means is option A is not an option for you, which means if you want to do the game, option B is the way you're going, because this is the only way that you can take some of your money in conjunction with other people's money and scale it. And then even if you have that amount of money, first of all, you wouldn't do option A. You wouldn't do option A. I'm going to show you why here in just a minute, because we did option A. That's how I got started. We started with option A, all of our own money. And we did it for almost 8 years. And we were doing what we thought was very well. And we built a little portfolio all with our own money. And we were very, very proud of it. But then we started to realize, crap, man, like we're running out of money. And we still want to grow and do bigger things, but we don't have any more money to do it. How do we do this game? How are people buying 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 units and doing it with limited capital? Like, how does this game work? Because I want to learn that game. Because if I can learn that game, that's a very, very, very valuable skill set. And that's kind of where this comes in. And just full disclosure, you're not going to become a millionaire tonight, not overnight, not with one deal, but you are going to set yourself up for you and your future self. And I think that's really, really important for you to kind of be asking yourself, like, what am I trying to accomplish between now and the end of the year? Are any of you in here looking to actually own an apartment building by the end of the year? A 10 to 30 unit apartment building by December 31st, 2025. Thumbs up in the chat if you are. If you're just curious, not a problem, but I'm curious, does anybody want to actually execute this in the next 6 months? Because we got a half a year left and you can do it. So I do want to make sure you understand this in your mindset, because I understand the fear that most people have. We get in our own heads. I was chatting with a wonderful dentist today, and, they do very well for themselves, sold their practice, considering doing another practice, but also considering multifamily, scared to death of the concept of raising money and dealing with capital. And I totally get it. I had to walk them through the mindset of being uncomfortable and realizing that everything you want in your life is just outside of your comfort zone. And all you can do is analyze things to the best of your ability, right? I'm not saying being reckless, but you do, calculated risk. But then you're at the edge of the cliff and you're going to have all these moments. And if you keep walking yourself back by over analyzing things, you'll get caught in the paralysis analysis game, which I got caught into for years, which stopped me from launching. But once I finally let go and said, you know what? I'm going to do the best I can. I will analyze things to the best of my ability. But then I'm going to get to the edge of the cliff, and sometimes you need to jump and let the house show up. And it will show up. And you know why it'll show up? Because you're betting on you. You're betting on you. And you is better than anybody else. And you just got to go. But you have to believe that you can do this, that you're smart enough and you got this. Okay, it's a motivational mindset game. But I started with one condo, $100,000 in the midst of the financial crisis. Does anybody remember 2008 through 2010 financial crisis? Anybody lose a house, a relationship, a job, on and on and on? Anybody lose any of that stuff? Was it chaotic for you too? Do you even remember it? Were you alive? If we have some we have young people on tonight maybe. But I'm curious, did anybody lose their ass in the financial crisis? And it's okay if you did. Welcome to the party. All right, lost your business. Yes, 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 thumbs up. Yeah, I get it. But that's when we started. And this was a simple little condo, like literally a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,100 square foot condo in Southern California. We bought for $100 grand. $25,000 down, $75,000 loan. Like that was our first one. We didn't cash flow a ton of money, but we cash flowed. Our return was pretty good, but it just wasn't a lot of money, right? So then we went to the next steps and we got into some duplexes and some other things. I'll show you that here in a minute. But the financial crisis was a big kind of turning point for me in my life. I'd say there's two big turning points. The financial crisis of 08 in 2010, definitely a pendulum swing. The next was the loss of my sister, and that was in 2018. And when you have these kind of moments of time, they can be these prism shifts where you just have these things happen in life, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to go make things happen because life's too short, that type of stuff. Or it directs you a different direction because you want to avoid bad stuff happening. So the financial crisis was one of them. I watched my dad have a massive bankruptcy. And I'm a third generation investor, learning really from my grandmother, God bless her soul. And then my dad really taught me and taught my brother and taught my sister and our family and everybody. And kind of he was our transitional character, they say, in your family, where he took what my grandmother had learned. My dad was completely self-made, Vietnam vet, came in from a pretty tough upbringing per se. His stepdad used to beat the crap out of him and all that stuff and didn't really have a good household. Had a good mom, our grandmother, but, he had stepdads and all that other stuff going on. Went to Vietnam, came back from that, and became completely self-made millionaire and went for the big stars and hit it. But he also lost it in 08, and it was massive. So you learn from that. And the two things I learned was don't over leverage, number one, and cash flow is king. Cash flow is king. Because he was in the build and sell game. He'd build big deals, he'd sell big deals. And that was great when markets were great, but it also can plummet when markets are not, hence the financial crisis. So that was that. But from that, I learned a lot. I became an asset manager for a lot of the major banks and handling all the foreclosures and REOs around the country. There's a good chance that I handled stuff East Coast, West Coast as an asset manager for a lot of the major banks and did that. And it was crazy. It was a wild time. But then I also had my real estate broker's license. So I decided in 2010, hey, I'm going to jump out into the broker world, help people out with short sales, help people out in distressed situations, help keep them in the homes, number one. But if we can't, help keep them in there for time to move them on and then rid them of the debt. And we did a lot of that stuff. But we also started buying properties. This is the point at which we bought properties in 2010. And then all the way through 2018, this is when the OPM syndication game started. But this is how it went. So in 2010, that first condo I talked about, $100,000. 8 years later, through the game of all of our own money, we went from 1 unit to 20 units. We did duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, stuff like that. About $3.5 million in assets. Like I said, pretty good. Like we were doing all right, but we wanted more. The problem was all our money was stuck in those deals. We couldn't move the money. We couldn't scale the money. We were running out of our own money. So then I had to be like, okay, but we want a lot more. Like we want 1,000, then we want 10,000 units. We're not getting there in this method. So I have to learn this other game of syndication, other people's money. How do I take some of our money in conjunction with other people's money and go buy real estate and make everybody rich? How do we do that? And that's how that game starts. So then from 2018, 20 units until today, we have over 1,000 units today and about 185 million and we're headed towards 10,000 and a billion plus. And you do not do that alone. You do it in conjunction with other people and yourself. And that's what you're here to understand. Does this make sense so far? I mean, is this interesting at all to you? Like how you can actually do this? I mean, we'll get into the weeds a little bit, but I'm just trying to, kind of get a gauge on, hey, are you okay with taking some of your money and going and how to find, analyze, raise capital, close, manage, and do this game of multifamily real estate? Because it is an extremely valuable skill set. You have to understand that when you do this, right, the value in what you're learning and putting into your cabeza here and your ability to execute makes you like a neurosurgeon for apartments. You're basically a hedge fund manager for apartments because your skill set to execute this game is so incredibly valuable that it makes people millions, hence the reason you get a chance to make millions. Because your income is directly related to the problems you solve, and I say that all the time. And it's very true. If you make thousands of dollars, it's because you're solving $1,000 problems. If you're making hundreds of thousands, it's because you're solving $100,000 problems. And if you get a chance to make people millions, including yourself, this is why you get a chance to make millions. You're solving big problems. Hence the reason you have a chance to make lots of money. But it's a skill set you have to learn, and you can absolutely do it. Everybody here can do it. Trust me, everybody here. I mean, the people I've seen execute at this space, especially when I went out to a syndication conference in 2018 to see this game happen. I'm sitting there and like 3,000 people in the auditorium, and I'm like looking around, and then I'm seeing the people that are actually executing at a high level, and I'm going, dude, if those people can do it, if they can do it, this guy can do it. So I left that thing with massive confidence, because I mean, not to say that they were morons, but not too far off. They weren't the sharpest tools in the shed, if you know what I mean. But they're doing great, and God bless them for doing that they took action on it. But that's what it was. You go from 20 units to nearly over 1,000 units and 180, 185 million today. And then we're headed towards 10,000 and a billion. And that's where we're going. But our first deal, that was a syndication, right? A syndicated apartment deal was this one right here. I'm going to answer a couple cool questions in here real quick, because I just saw it come through. Business partner lost 4.2 million, Sean? He would not listen to you. I know, that sucks, doesn't it? Yeah, Andrew, we'll get into the investor side. Investors come in many different ways. They come from your network. They come from our network. They come from other people's networks. They come from private lending. They come from seller financing, creative financings, multiple ways to bring down the money. But my first syndicated deal was this. We took this little 27 unit, put in about 350,000 into it, turned it into this sexy little thing right here, and added about $1 million, $1.5 million in value for about 400 grand in actual CapEx, right? Improvements to the property. And that was our first syndicated deal. But the mindset's critical. I talked about motivation earlier. Your mindset's critical. I need you to believe that you have the skill sets to do this, or you can learn the skill sets to do this, because that's critical. But we have to get through a couple limiting beliefs. The first one is, right? First one is this. We got to get through the belief that you need a lot of money to get started. You just don't. We have to get through the fact that, it's complex, it's too complex, and you have to be an expert. And then the deals are too hard to find, and the market's oversaturated. Okay? The market is not too saturated. It's not too hard to find deals. Okay? You can absolutely do it. Absolutely do it. So here's the thing. I'm going to break down this deal. I want to show you why you don't need 50 grand or even 100 grand or 200 grand to do a deal. You can pull this off with as little as 20,000 bucks out of pocket. Okay, 20,000 bucks out of pocket. So $1.5 million, $100,000 in reno, closing cost of 50K, total of $1,650,000 down. Right, that's total cost in the deal. Total cost in the deal. Loan is $1,150,000 in the loan. That's 70%. The equity's 500K. Equity's 500K. You're going to be bringing in 50K. That's only about 10% of the money. So think about that for a minute. It's $500,000 down. If you did this all with your own money, you'd have to bring in all the money. But because you're learning this game of OPM, you're going to be bringing in 10% of it. And then you're going to be getting the rest of it from friends and family, networks, private lending, our community, seller financing, all the above. There's multiple ways that this 450K comes in. People get stuck on this concept. I said, if you have a good deal, the money will find you. It always has, it always will. You just need to learn the skill sets to do this. Don't worry about this. Worry about finding good deals first. If you can find good deals, the rest of it will find its way through. It will find its way through, okay? Now, let's go over some frequently asked questions you may have. So I get it all the time. Hey, Justin, I'd like to make 10 to 20,000 bucks a month in income from this. How many deals do I need to make this happen? If I want to make $10,000 to $20,000 a month in income from this, how many deals do I need to do to make this happen? The answer is 3 to 4. 3 to 4 deals in the 10 to 30 unit apartment space will execute this game, because you're going to be making somewhere between $2,500 to $4,000 a month free cash flow on every 10 to 30 unit deal. Now, the more deals you do, the more you get, but on average, $2,500 to $4,000 in your pocket from a 10 to 30 unit apartment deal every single month. Every single month. So coming back to this thing real quick, think about this for a minute. $1.5 million deal. Let's say this was a 15 unit deal. So $100,000 a unit. You did the reno, the closing costs of $50K, total cost of $1,650,000. The loan, keep in mind, getting that loan, by the way, is easier than getting a house loan. Why? Does anybody know why getting $1,150,000 loan is easier than getting a house loan? It's because the bank sees the property as its own operating business. Okay, so you have to think of it like that. If any of you own businesses here, you have revenue, you have expenses, and then hopefully you have a profit, right? In the case of an apartment building, it's net operating income, AKA profit. In a business, it's EBITDA, earnings before tax, depreciation, amortization, right? EBITDA. Same concept, just different terminology, same idea, okay? So that is why they're going to use the property's financials to substantiate the payments on this loan. So you're completely secondary to the process. So don't worry about the loan. That's the easy part. As long as you're not a fraud, the property makes financial sense, and you have at least over a 600 credit score, we can put that together and you can get that loan. Okay, it's not that difficult. Now, let's talk about the equity game, right? Remember the $500,000 in equity? This stops most people. You're only bringing in 10% of it. But for that 10%, you're getting 40+% of the cash flows and profits, 40% of the deal for bringing in 10% of the money. You're 4Xing that. You're scaling your money. See how that works? 10% for 40%. And then on top of that, you're getting all these other fees, one of them which is called an acquisition fee. Has anybody ever heard of the term acquisition fee or know what that is with regards to apartments? An acquisition fee. So an acquisition fee, you get paid when you put these deals together. Once again, remember I said skill sets? You have a very high skill set now. You can execute this game. So because you can execute this game, you're like a neurosurgeon for apartments. Neurosurgeons get paid what? A lot of money. Why? They're solving big problems. As an apartment guy doing this stuff, why are you making a lot of money? Because you're solving big problems for you and investors, right? Why does a hedge fund manager make all the money they make? They're solving $1 million problems for investors. This is the reason you get to do it. This is the reason you get paid the way you get paid, right? Your skill set's now matching what you're doing and you're scaling your money. Okay, so that's key. That's key. So that's that first Q&A, right? How do you actually make 10 to 20,000 bucks a month? 3 to 4 deals. 3 to 4 deals. And you can get your first one by the end of this year. Next question. How much time is needed? Listen, Justin, I have a job. I work 8, 10 hours a day. How can I find the time for this game? Well, if you have 5 to 10 hours a week, 5 to 10 hours a week, you can pull this off. Let me give you an example of how I transitioned out of making a lot of money as a residential realtor in Southern California, working 10 hours a day. If anybody's in the real estate industry and sales, you understand it, right? It's a double commission job. I'm commission sales guy, multifamily, nothing happens till you do deals. So how do you play that game and provide for the family? In your case, you may have a job. You're earning income. God bless you for that. But if you don't, like me, I was working 10 hours a day, hammering the real estate, but I wanted to make this transition into the multifamily game. So how do you make that happen? Well, 8 to 10 hours a day, would come home, say 6 p.m. at night, a couple hours with the family and the kids and doing the family thing. Kids go to bed. And then dad is on the computer, finding, analyzing, writing offers. Finding, analyzing, writing offers. And I did that, spending a couple hours a day until my first deal got locked. And that was stage 1. And then that is how the process works. But 5 to 10 hours a week in the beginning, you can execute this plan, 100%. So that's belief number one, that you need a lot of money to get started. You just don't. So let me ask you a question, everybody in here. If in the next 10 days, hypothetically, you found a 20-unit deal that made financial sense, meaning it gave you 15, 20, 30% a year on your money, okay? Do you have $20,000 to $50,000 in cash right now to go execute that plan? And listen, if you don't have it right now, that's okay. There's options to learn too, but that's the key factor, because some capital's needed. Some capital's needed for this game of multifamily. And anybody that tells you you don't need any money to do multifamily, I'd question that. It's just not accurate. I'm not saying you need a lot of money, but you need some money. And or if you don't have any money, so for the folks that said, hey, I don't have that ability right now, then my next question to you is, do you know somebody that you could partner with to go do that deal right now that would have the 20 to 50? And then you become the sweat equity, they become the check equity. Do you have that? Because that's what you would, that'd be the next stage. If you don't personally have it, who do you know? Because that may be a person you can partner with, and then you become the sweat equity, meaning you have the knowledge and the skill sets to execute. It's very valuable to your friend that may have 50 grand. Okay, and that's how you do it. So now you guys are co-partnering to go run the show. But that's key. But you don't need a lot. So you're going to come in with 20 to 50. You're going to get 40% of the deal. You're going to get an acquisition fee, $30,000. You're getting paid 5 to 8 ways. You're out of pocket $20,000 for buying this 15 to 20 unit apartment building, and away you go. So the belief that you need a lot of money to get started is just not the case. You can literally do it with as little as 20 grand, probably somewhere in that 20 to 50K out of pocket, and you can go absolutely get into a 10, 15, 30 unit apartment deal all day long, all day long. Okay, my first one, and I'll show you in here, we had a little over $30,000 out of pocket on our first 27 unit. So 100%. You have to have some skin in the game. Even if it's a little bit, you have to have some. Belief number two. So remember, we took that belief you need a lot of money. It's out the window now. So we're taking this belief system, we're getting rid of it. Belief number two, that multifamily is too complex and it's for experts only. That's not the case. It's just not. Remember I told you when I was at that conference a few years back, and I'm sitting there in an auditorium with 3,000 people, and I was like, if these people can do it, this guy can figure it out, right? I just need to dedicate, and I need to go. I need to jump off the cliff. I need to allow the how to show up. I need to stop living in fear of what could happen and live in the reality of I'm just going to make stuff happen, period. And stop living in my comfort zone, step outside of it. That's the only way you're getting to where you want to go, is you have to step outside the comfort zone, okay? The key is this. Failing and making mistakes is not the problem. You just want to fail forward. Making mistakes and failing is part of the process of growth. The key is just limiting the mistakes and limiting the zeros on those mistakes. So that way, if you do make it, which is going to happen, that's part of the process, you're not bankrupt as a result of it, or you're not screwing the world as a result of it. The zeros are much smaller. That's why people get taught, they learn, they get into communities, they get mentored, they do all these things to limit the mistakes and limit the time. Limit the mistakes and limit the time. And that's why they do it. But the belief that it's too complex, none of these folks that are in the community now, none of them, not too complex for any of them. They pulled it off. And I would even say ACUS. So the process of doing this, right, it seems intimidating. I totally get it. But if you had a step-by-step blueprint that you could follow, that would empower you and navigate you through the markets and all the complexities of this in a layman's terms way that's very, very procedural, you can execute this plan. And I love this because ACUS, right? ACUS here in the medical field, she's, pretty much a second language, right? English is her second language. And she figured this out.
The crash course, I got hooked. It was so funny because that one is a small course. Yeah. However, I think I shared with you before that one of the parts that I enjoy the most is that you simplify language for many of us, and English is my second language. So I really enjoy the way that you were teaching and in
being able to kind of explain the complex details and nuance in a layman's terms, simple format to where it actually resonates. Is that what I'm gathering?
Right, because there is a lot of terminology out there for real estate that seems very intimidating, especially for those who are new to the real estate investment business. And you made it so easy and simplify it in a way that for me resonates. It reminded me a little bit of the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. It's like that.
I mean, I will take that compliment.
Can everybody hear her audio okay? Just thumbs up if you were able to hear her audio okay. Akis. She's a great example. She's a great example. So I love that. And then you have Steve. I love Steve. Upper Midwest guy. First deal, Cleveland, Ohio, 39 units. Was not too complex for him. He actually got a massive tax abatement on this deal in Cleveland, Ohio.
Super stoked for you. Everybody give Steve a clap. So 39 units, that was the Cleveland deal we were talking about. How many stories is that thing?
It's 4 stories, a little over 40,000 square feet with 4,000 square feet of commercial space.
Right.
And it's very challenging.
Is that the one you're getting the tax advantages on and all that stuff too?
In your tax, 100% tax rebate.
Yeah, Steve was great, and he's I think on his second deal now in the Ohio market, but he's doing quite well, which I love. And then we have Brian. Brian's a dog walker. These are some of many examples, right? I mean, I could change these up now easily, but Brian's incredible. So dog walking company, first deal, 22 units. He's on his third one now. He's now at 56 units he's closing on. So his first one was 20 something. This is kind of the progress everybody goes through. 20 something, 30 something, and then they usually will go bigger into the 50, 60, 80 unit space. And that's typically where co-partnerships happen, right? And that allows that to go down because you don't need, you usually maybe need a bigger balance sheet or you needs more sophistication, more resume. And that's where when you get into the bigger space above 30, 50 units, that needs to go down. Okay. And that's where co-partnerships happen. But Brian's fantastic. First unit, Oklahoma. And then he posts on, every time he does like a deal, he'll post it on social media. So this was the most recent one. This is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's got good music too. Does anybody know who Ken McElroy is? Has anybody seen this guy's face or name before? Chime in the chat if you have. Chime in the chat if you have. Ken McElroy. Curious. Bought his first deal, investment property in 1990 while he was a freshman in college. No previous experience. Okay. Today, over 5,000, or I think over 9,000 units in 5 states. He's regarded as one of the gurus in the industry. $3 billion worth of assets, and then still counting. Incredible guy. If you learn from him, I would say he's one of the geniuses in the industry. But it's incredible because he was not an expert when he got started, right? Freshman in college, no previous experience, pulling it off. He just said, hey, I'm going to go for it and figure it out. I'm going to jump off the cliff and let the house show up. Let the house show up. Do any of you know any of these faces? Chime in the chat if you know any of these people in these photos. Not me though, right? I'm the small guy in all these photos. But I'm curious if you know any of the folks in these photos. And no, this is not a name dropping. This is just to show you that all of these folks, they were not experts either when they got started. Not experts either. But now, they're some of the largest in the industry. You got Mr. Uncle G, Grant Cardone. Like him or not, he's doing very well. You got Robert Martinez, apartment rockstar. And then you got, this is Brandon Turner, great guy, by the way. He's like 7 feet tall. Not that tall. He's probably like 6'6". It's unbelievable how tall he is. And then Ryan Pineda, you got Carlos Reyes and so forth. But none of these folks were experts. They had to figure it out as they went. They just accepted the fear, unknown, and they jumped and they made the house show up. They didn't have any special spoons in their mouths. A lot of these guys bootstrapped 90% of what they did when they got started. So the belief that multifamily is too complex and it's for experts only, it's just false. It's just false. Who here still thinks you have to be an expert? So chime in if you believe, say yes. If you say, nope, you don't need to be an expert. I just need to know and learn how to do this. And I can do it. Thumbs up if you believe you can do this. I'm curious. And we'll get in. I mean, granted, guys, there's details to this. Not a problem. We get into that in all the parts. I'm trying to give you high level without getting too weedy, but at least give you some context for how this thing gets done, showing you the money, how things flow, and how things work through. Okay. Now, the third belief, that deals are hard to find and the market is oversaturated. Do you believe that good deals are hard to find? Chime in the chat. Chime in the chat if you believe that deals are hard to find. And we're going to walk through that. Because there's only two ways to find deals. Two ways to find deals. You just need to understand the process by which you find them. Direct to broker, it's option A. Or direct to the owners, that's option B. Direct to the broker or direct to the owner. Now, which one, for all of you here that have maybe a 9-to-5 job, or you have a career, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're on your own now, whatever it is, which option do you think is the most efficient use of your time to go find your first deal? You have to understand the pathway at which properties come to market. For commercial real estate, this is not a residential property, commercial real estate. Direct to broker is the most efficient use of your time. Why? Because direct to owner, if you go to option 2, you have to use a software in order to do that. You still need to scour it, no different than a broker does. A broker is essentially doing all of your work for you. You're just getting a chance to look at them. So the key to the whole game with the broker is to get in with them to actually get what they call the pre-market deals. The pre-market deals. So here's this. So on the belief that deals are hard to find, the market's saturated, if you do it alone, the deals are. If you do it together, the deals are not. Okay. So the direct to broker approach, you leverage the brokers on market listings to get access to their off market opportunities. Use their listings to meet them, tour the properties, build the relationships, and get the access. Let me give you a case study example. Every single market we've ever gone into. So if you're wondering whether you can do this, if you do it in your backyard or if you have to travel out of state, I had to do it out of state. So this is how that game happened. We couldn't do it in California. It was too expensive. We needed to scale our money, remember. So I started looking into the Midwest. Came across this cool city. They got a great football team called Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri. And I met some people when I was at a conference out there, so I knew a little bit about it, but I had to learn it. I set up a 3-day trip out to that market. Left on a Sunday, arrived in the afternoon. Monday and Tuesday, flew home first thing Wednesday morning. Here's how that process went. Before I went out there, I went on Crexy.com, just like LoopNet or CoStar. Same thing, Crexy.com. Found 3 properties, 3 different brokers who I saw were doing a decent amount of deals from the website. I reached out to them. I said, hey, interested in your property? Looks like you have this, this, and this. I'm going to be coming out there next week. I'd love to take a tour, meet you, and see the property, blah, blah, blah. A little bit of Q&A back and forth, some small talk, and we booked the appointment. And then now I had my 3 properties and my 3 brokers set up. The next stage was I'm going to get some property management companies. So I talked to the brokers and I asked them, hey, are there a couple PM companies I can talk to while I'm out there that I can interview while I'm in town? Boom, boom, boom. Now I had a couple PM property managers that I had a chance to meet when I was in town for my 3 days. Then when I met the property managers, I got access to construction crews, people that renovate the buildings. So you see how everybody knows everybody knows everybody? So now I go and I fly out there, I tour the properties. I knew darn well the properties didn't make financial sense because they were on the websites. Because once you understand how properties come to market, then you realize that the game is pre-market and off-market. You all know this too. Okay? When you're on the websites, anything you see on the website, understand this. You are seeing leftovers. Because a property like an apartment building comes to market just like this. A broker is on the phone. just like you would be if you were going direct to owner. But they have a team of 5, 10 people doing it. You have you. So they can 5 or 10x you every day of the week and twice on Sundays. So they're calling, they're writing letters, they're calling, anything you can imagine they're doing. They get someone like me to raise my hand and say, yeah, I'd like to sell the property and I'll consider an offer. Great. They put together a nice little marketing package. They circulate that marketing package amongst their 25 to 50 investor people that are in their little network. The property will sell about 90% of the time right there. It'll never make it to Crexy or LoopNet or CoStar. It'll sell right there in the pre-market phase with the 25 or 50 investors who are able to build a little bit of a relationship, get into the pipeline, and make things happen. And I knew that. So when I went out there and I toured these properties, I didn't tour the properties thinking I was doing the deal. I was touring the properties to build the rapport. And then I knew that we were too far away in terms of price between me and the seller. But I said, hey, broker, look, I'm going to buy here in Kansas City, and I'd love to buy through you. So do you have any deals you're working on right now, maybe aren't on the market yet, that you can maybe share with me? I can get that through my inbox and my email and take a look, and maybe we buy them direct or we figure it out. Sure, great, boom. Now I'm inside the little network. And then I'll move a little closer into that network once I do my first deal. But that's how you get starting to get the pipeline of pre-market inventory. Just knowing that most of the market you never see, which is why you're frustrated if you're looking on the websites, because all that stuff is overpriced. It has to be heavily negotiated to even close to making sense. So this is why you think that the market is oversaturated and that deals are hard to find, because you're doing it alone and you're not leveraging the process to help you. So the direct to broker approach is the most useful of your time and most efficient, especially if you have a 9-to-5 job or another career, another way you're making money, which most people on this tonight have. You got to pay the bills. So you can't go out there and spend 10 hours a day on the phone trying to get owners like me to raise our hands, but the brokers can. So you can then go 2 hours a night. Remember I said 5 to 10 hours a week, couple hours a night, find, analyze, write offers, find, analyze, write offers. And that's the process for going direct to broker and making that happen for yourself. So now you have the direct to owner approach. So we do both now. We do both. We have the direct to broker, which is what we utilize to get started. Now we've developed our own software. So now we can go direct to owner and we can find all these off-market deals anywhere in the country. We have marketing campaigns that get set up to them right through the software. Everything from text messaging, mailers, postcards, letters, emails. I mean, you name it, we can do it. And we can get the owners to raise their hands, and now we have an off-market, pre-market deal. The broker's not even involved. And then we can either wholesale it, or we can hand it out to people in the community. We take it on ourselves a lot of the times, but we have all the above. That's the direct-to-owner approach using software. So those are the two ways you're finding deals, okay? So the belief that deals are hard to find and the market's oversaturated, if you do it alone, you're right. Deals are hard. Deals are hard, but if you do it together, deals are much easier. So you don't want to do it alone. You want to do it together. That's the key. That's the key. So we're going to take that belief and chuck it out if you're running the right process. And the right process is going to be the direct to broker approach for your first few deals. And then you can expand to the direct to owner approach. Make sense? But that's how you're going to execute it. So the difference between single family and multifamily. Single family and multifamily. If you do single family investments, good investments overall, but you're only getting paid 1 to 2 ways, right? 1 to 2 ways, maybe some revenue and then profits when you sell it. You get some monthly cash flow, profits when you sell. That's the main ways you make money in the single family world. The crappy part about single family rentals is if one person moves out of your rental, and maybe many of you have had that happen, you go from 100% occupied to 0. Your ability to pay your debts and your mortgage and everything else goes like great to 0. So your economies of scale are not good. It doesn't work. And you're putting a lot more money into that single family to get it because you have to do it alone with your own money because it's not really investable for investors. So therefore, you're the one putting in all the down payment, all the expenses, all the stuff. Whereas a multifamily, a lot more zeros in it. So because of that, economies of scale are there. So now you can bring in investors with you to go buy it, own it, run it, manage it, and all the other stuff. That's how it works. So you're getting paid in a multifamily building 5 to 8 ways. You get the cash flow, you get the profits, you get fees such as an acquisition fee, asset management fee, you get all the tax benefits. I can show you how to wipe out most of your taxes, everybody on this webinar tonight. I mean, if you want to know how to wipe out your income taxes, buy multifamily. I'll show you how to do it. You get fees at the sale when you sell it for running the show, finder's fees, construction management fees. So there's a whole fee structure that you get in addition to cash flows and profits and everything else for the ownership side that you get. So it's massively valuable to learn the skill set to pull it off. So I'm going to give you kind of a case study of a 31 unit deal that I actually did. This is one of the many we've done, $19,000 out of pocket for 31 units in the Midwest. Let me break this thing down for you and show you how the splits happened, the percentages, the structure, all of that stuff. Okay, so here we go. Bought this thing for $1,525,000. Put in renovation dollars about 400 grand. Closing cost, that's CC, closing cost of 225,000. Inside that closing cost includes legal, escrow, title, my acquisition fee, all that stuff is wrapped up in that closing cost number. So our total cost of the deal, all in cost, was $2,150,000. We went out, we got a loan for $1.5 million, about 70% of that cost. Equity, this was the down payment into the deal, 30%. That was 645 grand. I brought in 64,000. That's 10%. Remember, 10% money from me, 90% from friends and family, networks, other people's money. Okay, and I'll show you how that broke down. So I bring in 64 grand, 90%, 581,000 comes in from OPM. OPM. Now, I got an acquisition fee of 45 grand. Literally, this acquisition fee, so you understand timing. So my money goes in 64K. 7 days after we closed on the deal, I get a check back, an ACH wire into my account for 45 grand. So I'm technically now out of pocket $19,000, and I have control of a 31 unit multi-million-dollar apartment building. Okay, that's how it goes. So what did I get? What did I get? So 31 units. 24 months later, fast forward, 24 months. Now we've renovated the property. We've increased the rents. We've jumped up the income, the NOI, everything. So because of that, now the building is worth a lot more money. So it's not $1,525,000 anymore. It's $3.6 million in value. So we did what's called a cash out refinance. We pulled the money out, took out a $2.5 million loan, paid off the $1.5 million loan we did have, paid back all the investors' money, including mine. Okay. Then we pocketed an additional $355,000, all of which is tax-free, by the way. Did you know that debt is tax-free? You just learned something tonight if you didn't. So all the debt in the world is tax-free money. Debt is completely tax-free, just FYI. So that's why you can use debt, good debt, to grow wealth. That's why you do it. Got an asset management fee of 1%, 40% of all the profits and all the cash flow coming out of that property. So around $2,000 a month. Okay, that was my percentage of it for 5 years. That was $120,000 in cash flow. Additionally, net profits at the sale of $470,000. So ultimately for me, for $19,000 out of pocket, I made $590,000. Now you tell me where else you're pulling that one off, other than maybe Bitcoin, right? But you get the point. And no, this is completely normal. This is not abnormal. This is how you leverage cash flow and money. This is how you're able to use your money, a little bit of your money, to leverage. And you ask yourself, why? Like, how are you able to make that kind of money? Remember, you're solving $1 million problems. Because you're solving $1 million problems for other investors, including yourself, it's a very high valued skill set. You are a neurosurgeon for apartments. You are a hedge fund manager for apartments. You are very now skillful and can execute this. So therefore, that skill set's high, you make big money. That's how it works. A neurosurgeon makes a ton of money. They solve big problems. You solve big problems. That's why you get to make big money. That's how it works. So my promise to you tonight was how to buy a 10 to 30 unit apartment deal in 90 days with $20,000 out of pocket. We did that. Also, focusing on those 3 belief systems. Did I do a good enough job, in your opinion, at hammering away at those? That you need a bunch of money to get started? Are you now confident that you don't? Chime in the chat if you say yes or no. If I didn't do a good job, then please ask a question because I'll be happy to explain it. Belief number 2, that it's too complex. Do you think that you need to be an expert? You do not. You can pull this off. You just need to learn it. It's completely learnable. This is not something you're born with. And then more importantly, the belief system that deals are hard to find and the market's oversaturated. I just showed you that if you do it a certain way through a proper procedure, they're not hard to find. You just need to know how deals come to the market and then be able to access them properly through the brokers first, then through the owners second. Once you execute that plan, you'll be very, very, very good. Be very, very, very good. So a couple other frequently asked questions. What if I can't find a good deal? What if I can't find a good deal? We have a guarantee as part of our community. We're going to give you one. So through our Deals on Demand program, we can do that. And I'll get into that in just a minute. But you don't have to worry about that. Like, deals are out there to find once you learn the process. But if you can't find a good deal, we're going to give you one. And we'll show you what we mean by that. Frequently asked question on this: how do you raise money legally and confidently? Some of you asked that. Raising money, it sounds intimidating. I get it, especially with SEC rules, guidelines, legal, all that stuff. Don't get in fear of that. It's all learnable. You just have to understand it, and we hold your hand right through it. People fear asking for money. Most people are in fear of that. You're not asking people for money. You're giving them an opportunity. Flip the mindset. Everybody wants to invest in real estate. Everybody on here tonight, you're here because you want to invest in real estate. That's not the problem. You just need to provide a deal that makes financial sense, which gives people an opportunity to invest in it. Then you're not asking for money. You're saying, hey, bro, I got a great opportunity. Who do you know that may have some interest that wants to get in this thing? We're closing the escrow. You create a FOMO effect. Like, right? You're not asking them. You're asking who they know. You pull it away. That's the whole concept. But you have a great deal that leads the show. This deal is a smoking great opportunity. Who do you know, John, that may have some interest in this thing? We're closing in 90 days from now. We're closing. I'm raising a few $100,000. We're putting it together with my network and other people. Who do you know? It's a minimum $25,000 to get into it. Projected returns are 18 to 20% a year on your money. Here's the data, the facts, the pitch deck, the financials to back it up. Let's rock and roll. Who do you know? Great. Can you send this to them? We'll talk with them. So you pull it away because everybody hates FOMO, right? Then like, why are they asking me? Why wouldn't they think I could invest? It happens all the time. Don't sell them. Sell the dream. Okay. Sean asks, what is the average time frame between your 10% down payment and the payment of the acquisition fee back to you a couple months after closing or less? 7 days. Sean, 7 days. So once you close, within 7 days, that acquisition fee is coming back. Unless there's some arduous reason why not, but that's not how that works. So it's like Peter to pay Paul, correct? And then Veronica, I see you in here. You have a great deal to you want a great deal to invest in too. So do you want to passively invest or do you want to actively control the show? Answer that one. I'm curious on that, Veronica. Do you want to passively invest and just get mailbox money, or do you want to run this show and earn big money? So you can learn good money as a passive investor. You earn great money as an active investor. Gotcha. So passively. Okay. Interesting. Totally fine. We have opportunities for that too. I mean, heck, I could even, I'll share this with you, Veronica. If you're interested in passive investments, that's our fund. You can take a look at that. I'm not here to sell a fund, but you can take a look at that. If you're interested in passive investing, click on that. You can just take a peek at it. See if it's interesting to you. See if it's interesting to you. But that would be a passive way to invest. And it's just a matter of finding good deals, number one. Number two, trusted people to invest alongside with. But raising money, okay? How do you do that and do it correctly? There's a process for it. There's a process for it. And then once you learn it and you understand it, you just need a good deal, a pitch deck, and a process to bring the money in. And raising money is a beautiful thing. It's a great skill set to have, whether you do this or anything else in life. I just need you to reach beyond the fear of it. When I did my first deal, I was scared to death. I had to raise $900,000 for my first deal. I'd never raised a single dime. I didn't know any of this SEC stuff, any of this other, how do I do this correctly, blah, blah, blah. But I knew I wanted to do it, so I figured it out. And we raised the money. And it was from 7 people, 900 grand, and we pulled it off. Why? Because it was a good deal. It made financial sense. People could invest 25 grand at a minimum into it and earn a great return on their money. Right? And that was our first deal. And then it just went up from there. Another question. What if I mess up the numbers? You're not going to mess up the numbers because we're going to review them with you. We review all of your deals alongside you. Should you like it, we review them to make sure the numbers look good before you're making offers on them, so you're not messing up the numbers. We hold your hand through the due diligence process of making sure the financials are accurate, the inspections are good, closing the escrows. How do you do the management? How do you manage these properties? We do all that stuff gets handled from afar or local, whether it's in your backyard or you're out of state, doesn't matter. It's all handled. Okay. It's a process. It's a process. It's a process. Who's going to manage the property? Third-party management. Unless you want to deal with toilets and tenants every day. I'm going to presume that most of you have other jobs and stuff you're doing right now. So for you to manage toilets and tenants every day does not make any sense. We need this thing to be as passive as possible. Nothing is fully passive, but as passive as possible. Okay. Question just came in from Heather. To raise money, all the money required to close on the apartment deal, syndication, attorney, contracts, closing fees needed 20 to 50,000 range. That is not accurate, but I'll go into that in a second. I've been told by mentors when I don't have that money, earnest money down payment, and being an expensive location, markets like South Carolina, Beaufort, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yes. So let's touch on that for a second. No. So your first set of legal documents, Heather, you're speaking of is somewhere between 6 to 13 grand. If you're paying 20 to 50, you're getting hosed. That's just not the way it works. So we have syndication attorneys, securities attorneys in our community. They service everybody in the community, and we either have great deals with them, one of the two, but I'm pretty sure that that's pretty standard practice. Pretty standard practice. Then regarding the, you said earnest money, that's part of your money in the deal. That's so when you put in any earnest money to secure the deal, that's part of your 10% that I'm talking about. That's why you need some capital to get started, right? Yes, and you want to buy in areas where you're buying properties somewhere between this and this. So if you're buying in areas where the properties are more than 50 to 150,000 a unit, it's too expensive for your first deals. For your first deals, it's not to say that those markets you're mentioning aren't great, but for your first deals, so your capital game works correctly, like I'm discussing, 50 to 150,000 per unit is where you need to buy. That's where we're going to target you, and we'll target you in a market that makes sense for that. Okay. But that's per door. That is correct. 50 to 150,000 per door is the sweet spot to make this deal happen. And you can find them. Anywhere outside of the coastal zones of the United States, this game can happen. 150 to 50,000 bucks. Okay. So we'll get into this. I'll explore kind of this game here and kind of share with you what this is. For all of you that want to do the, that want to be active and execute this. Okay, you want to execute this, you just don't have that $20,000 to $50,000 in capital right now. Not a problem. When I said there's other ways to learn, we have a university system, right? You can get in, you can try it out. It doesn't have the mentorship, doesn't have the hand holding, doesn't have all of that kind of tight knit stuff that you get, which is why people get into the mentorships. But it does have all the tools and resources and learning courses, all that stuff in there. Community, we have a mobile app, we have all that stuff in there. It's very, very, very good if you're just trying to learn and you're not quite ready to fully execute, but then you can always upgrade later into a community and a mentorship should you want to. Completely up to you. But it just gives you multiple options. This is a low barrier. This is, I think, $3 to try it out. $3 to try it out. And then if you like it, $97 a month. $97 a month for the university. Let me show you this real quick. You can kind of see everything that's kind of included and how this game works. We're very, very transparent about how this thing works. Some people don't show all the ins and outs. We do. So what do you get if you actually come into the community? And this is all designed by feedback we've received into always improving what we're doing for everybody. And then the bigger purpose of why this is even in place. Just know that the entire purpose that the multifamily school, right, the community and the mentorship even came about several years ago is because I had a lot of people approaching me, seeing what I was doing and asking, can I teach this stuff? And at first I was like, I don't know, man. But we put some courses up online that people could take at their own pace, and they loved them. Because they said, Justin, we love, it's just simple to follow. You're very good at explaining complex topics in a simple layman's way. And we love that. Do you do any mentoring? Do you do actual hand holding? And I said, I don't know. We got to figure this out. But then I said, hey, what if we do a community where we can create well-trained investors who are executing, doing their deals, making things happen. And then in tune, I know darn well your first deal gets happened, second deal happens. By your third deal, there's a good chance you may want to go bigger. Maybe you want a 50, 60, 80 unit deal. That's where we can come in and partner alongside you. So when people ask me, why are you doing this? It's not just about mentorships and courses and all this other stuff. It's how can we create a community of well-trained investors doing deals around the country? And then we can be included in that. So we're winning because our portfolio is growing alongside you. You're winning because your portfolio is growing. Everybody's getting rich together. It's a win-win environment. That's why this was created. Okay, just so you understand from a high level. But what do you get? Number one, personal access. Personal access, personal access. You're going to get me. You're not getting some hired coach. We have 2 calls a week. You don't have to come on both, but you have access to 2 calls a week, and they're small. You'll be in a little 5 to 8 group setting. A lot of Q&A back and forth. We're analyzing deals. They would maybe your deals or maybe another student's that we're in the middle of. You'll see and you're going to learn in a nice little small Q&A environment. You're going to have direct access to me the entire time. I'm the one holding your hand. It's critically important that that happen that way. You're going to get my direct cell phone number and my direct email the entire time. Okay. Number 2, in addition to me, we have to keep you strong in the mind. This is where the accountability comes in, right? I mean, we can give you all the tools and systems, but everybody needs a little kick in the butt. So hence the accountability coach that we're going to assign and put to you that's going to walk you through this 90-day action guide. Because I told you, if you want to get into a deal in the next 3 months, we can make it happen week by week by week by week. And we have an entire program designed for that to execute that game, right? We will hold you accountable. Everybody needs it. It's a good thing, but that's how we put it in place. Number 3, deal review. Deal review. So most people, if they haven't analyzed deals, they don't know how to analyze deals. We provide you the analyzers, the tools. We show you how to use them. We have you send us those numbers. We review them alongside you before you're making offers to make sure those deals look good and you're making good offers on good deals, period. And then you'll figure out the underwriting after you've gone through it a few times, but we're going to guide you and hold your hand every step of the way on the deal review, from the underwriting, negotiations, all of that to save you costly mistakes. And you can submit all those deals right in the back end of the system, right in the back end of the system. Number 4, the capital connections. Money and financing, capital and structure, hands down, the biggest things people hurdle with. I get it. I did too. I was scared to death, but I understand where you're at. I understand where you want to go. We just need to push you to get there. So access to the capital and the debt connections, capital raising resources and all of that. Introductions to our potential capital partners, equity partners, lenders, and private money. So inside the community, people are doing deals together. We also have all of our lenders. We have 3 different lenders in the back end of the system. You can submit your deals directly to them. They will underwrite and provide the financing on all of your deals. Now, additionally, we want to also get you in touch with local lenders in your market, and we will help that process. But we provide lenders to remove that capital problem in the back end. Okay, it's really, really key. Number 5, sourcing the deals, right? Finding good deals. How do you find good deals? Like I said, you have the direct-to-broker approach, which we're going to teach you and hold your hand through exactly how to do it. I gave you some insight tonight on how that works, but we're going to lean in further because you got to execute that game. I was just chatting with Rose tonight, and she made her first trip out to Indiana, right? So she out-of-state investor. She chose Indiana as her first location to invest into. Flew out there, 3-day trip, met 3 brokers, property managers, construction crews, got the lay of the land, understands it, is starting to underwrite her first deals. She's going to be making her first offers. This was all within 3 weeks. So it absolutely can happen, but you understand how to work the direct-to-broker approach. We're going to teach that. And then the direct-to-owners through the software, which you're going to get full access to use. When you come into the community, you get the software. It's all included. Lifetime investor community. So the reason why it's lifetime and not like 12 months, 6 months, some of these communities and stuff, they kind of, they call sunset, where you're in them and then you're out. No, you're in it. And the reason why we want you in it lifetime is because we want you doing more deals. This is not a one, hit pony show, right? You come in, we want you doing multiples. We want you collaborating. We want to collaborate with you. We want to do bigger deals together. That only happens if you have a vibrant community that's active doing stuff, which is why we have our own mobile app now. You can download it from Apple and Android. All the community stuff's in there. Everything's in there. So you can chat. You can look at all your courses. You can look at deals. We're posting deals in there all the time from our software and stuff that people can just go grab all within inside of there. So that lifetime community is very, very valuable. You get the portal, the app, all of it. The masterclass. So this is A to Z everything apartments. How do you find, analyze, raise capital, structure, pull it down, syndicate, securities, attorney, all the stuff you can fathom, property walks, case studies, on and on and on and on and on. There's not a single thing in this little masterclass course program that I put together that you will not learn. And you can get through it in about a week, right? Once you're just going through it, you could binge watch it if you want. If you want to take a month, fine, but you can get through it pretty quick. It's pretty awesome. Toolbox and then business setup. So this was by actually request and design. We don't want you having to create or find or generate anything on your own. If you want to, fine, but deal analyzers, pitch decks, letters of intent, due diligence checklists, everything, glossary of terms, what to say, what not to say. How does this whole game work? Every single document's put into our multifamily toolbox library. You have full access to lifetime. The other part is the business setup. Who here has an LLC setup currently? Who here has an LLC setup that's a holding company that you currently own? Yeah, if you don't, that's why it's there. We provide you an LLC setup. We provide you a CRM, which is a client relations management system, and a website, okay? The reason why we provide these things is because this is what's going to help you with the money raising, money side of things. Everybody's in fear of the money game, whether it's from lenders or people in networks, out of networks, this whole game. This is how you start executing it. You have a little bit of a presence online. We walk you through the logistics in the back end. We give you everything. And then we even give you people that can design and customize it for you all inside the system. So this way, we're limiting a lot of these roadblocks that people get hit with. We're trying to provide you as many tools, resources, and systems, and then hold your hand through the entire process to get you from where you're at right now to where you want to go, step one, which is your first 10 to 30 apartment deal by the end of this year. By the end of this year. And I'm dead serious about that. If you want to do it, now's the time. Here we are in June. Let's rock and roll. Before you know it, you're going to be sitting with eggnog December 31st. Let's make that a glass of wine in a 30-unit apartment building. Okay, because that's where you can go, and you can absolutely make that happen if you want to go. So that's our toolbox and our business setup that we help you out with. And then our guarantee that I was mentioning. So if we can't help you locate a multifamily deal that makes financial sense in the next 90 days, we're going to give one to you through our Deals on Demand program. Because I have our team, we're finding deals all the time. We're actually putting them in the community every day. But in addition to that, right, if this is something we can't meet, then we will, with our guarantee, provide you a pre-vetted deal on a silver platter that you can take down. And we will handhold you through that process. So that is our guarantee to you, okay? Awesome. I said Veronica has an LLC. I love it. This kind of summarizes everything we just went through. Nice little sheet here. So to kind of go through this again in terms of the value add for it. So weekly mentorship calls with me twice a week. These are all recorded. So if you miss one, everything's recorded. Everything's put into your portal. It's all there. 90-day action guide and accountability coach additionally assigned you for the mindset game to walk you through this 90-day plan to get you to where you want to go. We're going to also review all of your deals. You're going to get access to all of our capital partners and lending partners. We're going to source and help you source the off-market deals through our software, number one, but then the direct-to-broker approach, number two. You get lifetime community access, the mobile app, the tools, the resources, the downloads, everything's lifetime. It never sunsets. The masterclass, the business in a box setup, toolbox, and then of course our guarantee. How does this sound so far? Do people like what's included? Are we including things that are important to you? I'm curious. Chime in the chat if this is stuff that like, yeah, it makes sense. I like it. I could see it. This is valuable. It could get me to where I want to go. Awesome. Cool. Beautiful. So, and then with that in mind, we're very transparent on the values and stuff put to it. So here it is. If all of this did, literally, if all of this did, if you think about worst case scenario, if all of it did was get you your first apartment complex this year, would it be worth it? If it gave you the skill sets to do this and overcome the false belief patterns that a lot of people have, would it be worth it? Help you out with family, gain some respect, would it be worth it? The answer to that's, for most people, yes. So $65,000 value of all that stuff. $65,000 value. Now, no, you're not paying that. Don't worry. Don't worry. But this is the cost. This is the cost. So it's $10,000. $10,000. Everything there on the left is everything that you get. This breaks down into kind of a couple options. Option A, we do give people, if you want to do a one-time pay, we will give you a 30% off benefit for doing that. So it's $7,000, not 10, and then you're in it. If you choose option B or any other payment plan, we can go up to 5 payments for you at $2,000 a month for 5 months. We can do that and break it up to give you runway. That's another option. You could do 2, 3, 4, or 5 payments, completely up to you.